Welcome to PHW 201. We're glad you're here this morning. We're going to wait just a few moments for folks to join us. Please feel free to share in the chat who you are and what organization or faith community you are representing. But thanks for joining us this morning. A few more moments. Hopefully it's sunny where you are. I know many of us had a stormy Memorial Day weekend, so hopefully the weather is turning around for everybody. All right. Well, I want to go ahead and welcome you all to PHW 201. I am Jessica Stokes. I am one of the Associate Directors of Partners in Health and Wholeness. And what we hope to accomplish today is to give you an exciting update on Partners in Health and Wholeness. Many of you have joined us for one of our PHW 101 or who PHW is, or a introductory presentation on who we are, and we will offer some of that today, but today is mainly about our exciting updates. So whether you've been with us for 6 months or 5 to 10 years, or this is your first time ever with us, welcome. There's something for everyone today. So to begin, I'm going to start us off with prayer, and then we will get going. Feel free to put any questions in the chat and we will address them later. And any comments, but we will get to those. And also today is being recorded, so you will get an email with this recording and so forth later if you want to revisit anything. But join me in prayer. God of love and hope, thank you for this day, God. Thank you for this community of people who come together, who want to live out health and wholeness through their faith, God. For this, I give thanks. I also ask that you encourage us, you sustain our efforts. I ask that you'll be with us when things get hard and we feel that no matter how much we want to work on health, it just feels like we can't always get there. Help remind us that we can be the change, that we can break systemic barriers that keep us from healthy practices, that we can heal generational trauma and pain, that help us model healthy mental health practices and emotional well-being. Help be with us and remind us that we can grow food that is healthy. We can give food that is healthy. We can be a part of the change that how you intended us to live, God, through community, through health, and through wholeness, God. All this I ask for your help in doing, and be with us as we try to live this out in our communities. I'm so thankful for each person here, God. Please be with us and be with us in this presentation, but for the rest of our days, God. In your name, amen. Thank you, Stephanie. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So I know some of you are again familiar with Partners in Health and Wholeness, but we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So what do we do? Partners in Health and Wholeness, we work to bridge issues of health, faith, and justice. We want to empower faith communities to improve their health and well-being, and we partner and support grassroots efforts to challenge injustice. We do many things. We work on all types of issues. We want to work with you, not tell you what to do. We have a big hope that we establish trust with the local faith community. Again, empowerment is a big part of the way that we approach these health issues. We know that many of you have different contexts and cultures and even regions in North Carolina. Certainly no place is the same. And so we admire that, and we also respect that. Thank you, Stephanie. So how do we go about this? Because that does sound complicated, and it is, because humans and faith communities are complex in a good way. But we provide resources, connections, and support to faith communities for their various health initiatives. So whether that is wanting to establish a community garden, or perhaps get your deacons and Stephen ministers trained in mental health first aid training, we want to provide those resources and connections. We also listen deeply to what you're saying that you need. And if we do not know of an established resource or connection around that, we work really hard to develop that. So we listen closely to what clergy and faith communities are asking help around. And again, we work to establish trust and partnership with faith communities. That is the basis of what we hope to do at Partners in Health and Wholeness. And then one also big example of the resources that we offer is that we have a mini grant and community grant program to help financially support faith communities' health initiatives. And we'll talk more about that later on today. And so why do we do this? You know, there's a lot of health efforts in the world. There are a lot of approaches to health. However, one thing that makes Partners in Health and Wholeness different is that we are faith-based. We have a unique personal approach to this because we feel convicted by not only our faith, but ultimately by God, that we as a shared humanity can help empower and support and encourage one another to work towards health and wholeness. We do believe that all people are loved by God. We believe that God cares about the wholeness of humanity and communities through mind, body, and spirit. And we do believe that our work in partnership with faith communities will improve health outcomes of people across the state. We certainly believe this at Partners in Health and Wholeness, that faith communities remain a major point of influence in the local community. So who better to talk about health, model health, present health in a way that impacts our whole entire body and family and church family than through the local church. Is a terrific intersection of what we already do at church. We talk about hard things, we celebrate one another, we do meals together, we live together through life, we walk together through life. So what better intersection of that than the local faith community to promote health? And so this is something that we all care deeply about. Thanks, Stephanie. And I'm also happy to share with you all our staff. We have a statewide staff. We work in every part of North Carolina, every county, every part. So please know that no matter where you are in North Carolina or what subject or topic of health that you feel drawn to or interested in, we are happy to work with you, and we have somebody to work with you. As I said, I'm Jessica Stokes. We also have our Eastern Regional Associate Director, the Reverend Dr. Arlisha Simmons. We have our Program and Engagement Administrator, Stephanie. By the way, Stephanie is the person behind the PHW info at ncchurches.org email. So that's a face to that email who is just amazing at getting everything squared away with our grants. And then we have in our Western Associate Director, the Reverend Carolee Hall, who is very happy to help you. And then we have our Director, Nicole Johnson. And we also have our Healthy Aging Associate Director, Krista Westervelt. So we have all of our folks in every part of the state covered, and happy to work with you. Let's see. And now I am happy to pass it on to our Director of Partners in Health and Wholeness, Nicole Johnson.
Good morning, everybody. I love seeing the familiar faces. Hi, Eric. I see you waving. So a main part of why we've asked everybody, we're sharing this information as much as we can. Partners in Health and Wholeness, we're saying that Partners in Health and Wholeness is evolving. And what does that mean? A lot of times when we say evolve or change, everybody goes, what's happening? What is changing? And so what we want to say, we are committed to continuing to walk with faith communities. The main parts that are changing for Partners in Health and Wholeness is our grant structure. Partners in Health and Wholeness, from its very beginning, we've gone through at least a couple changes in our grant structure. We used to have different levels in the past. If you've been with PHW for a while, you probably remember we used to have a gold, bronze, silver level that connected to different grant amounts. And then we went to a mini grant structure that was pretty much flat for everyone, where it was a mini grant structure that allowed faith communities to apply for a mini grant up to $1,000 as long as they were a part of the PHW collaborative. Well, today, that kind of flat structure is shifting, and it is shifting. What we are going to be doing is we're going to be moving our grants into what we think is going to be a more impactful and deeper structure. We've walked with a lot of faith communities over the years. We've helped to provide seed grants for faith communities to start their faith and health ministries, to explore faith and health topics that they may not have explored before, but they wanted to. Currently, what we're hoping is going to happen is that we're going to move our grants into a structure that divides them into being denomination specific, depending on what denomination you're with. For example, if you're a United Methodist or African Methodist Episcopal or African Methodist Episcopal Zion or Baptist or Christian Methodist Episcopal, we're going to be moving some grants into a denomination specific grant format that those faith communities that are part of specific denominations can apply for. On the other hand, we're going to continue to have Partners in Health and Wholeness focus areas. But what we want to see happen is for the focus areas that we currently have and that faith communities engage with in their particular context around healthy eating, healthy aging, physical activity, tobacco and nicotine education, HIV advocacy, overdose and substance use and harm reduction work, we're going to be going to focus area specific grants. So overall, what the big picture is that we're moving away from having seed capacity building grants that just help a faith community establish their faith and health ministry. That's not to say that in the future we may not have seed capacity grants again, but for now, we're going to be moving into a structure that allows us to increase the grant amounts that a faith community can apply for in our focus areas. So they'll be focus area specific, and those focus area specific grants are not going to be available all at the same time. During different cycles of the year, depending on how much funding we have available, we'll make announcements saying we have focus area specific grants available for tobacco and nicotine education and for overdose and substance use and harm reduction health activities. And then we're also, on the other hand, the good part of this that we're really excited about is we're going to be able to increase the grant amounts for the denomination specific grants and for the focus area specific grants. So that's kind of one of our big changes. Now, the question is, people are like, well, what's happening? Like, why are y'all changing? We think it's been going fine. We want this work to go deeper. We want faith communities to not only establish a faith and health ministry that stays in one place. We want to see the work that faith communities do go deeper in very specific focus areas. And one of the ways that we're able to do that, the funds that we have available comes from somewhere. Partners in Health and Wholeness exists because we have foundations and funders and partners who contribute their funds for us to be able to distribute to faith communities. And so those funds are awarded to us by various endowments, different organizations, and those organizations also have very specific health outcomes that they are hoping to see. And so some of those grants, they're willing to give to contribute to the continuing development of Partners in Health and Wholeness. We're going to continue to do webinars. We're going to continue to do one-on-one consultations. We're going to continue to develop faith and health tools and worship resources. The part that is real important, and this is what we want you to hear today, is these organizations also give funds to be able to see the work around faith and health go deeper in our communities. And for Partners in Health and Wholeness, that's specifically around our particular focus areas. So funds come to us from a funding organization, and we're kind of like in that middle place of being able to walk along with faith communities. So those funds go from a funding organization to Partners in Health and Wholeness. We help to develop a grant structure. We develop worship resources. We work with faith communities one-on-one, and we distribute those funds to you, our partners. We consider you our partners in this Partners in Health and Wholeness Collaborative. Fantastic.
All right.
I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie Saunders, who is our Program and Engagement Administrator. She's going to go into just a little more logistical detail about what it looks like for us to be going to denomination specific and focus area specific grants. And if while we're talking you have questions, please just drop them in the chat. We are definitely going to be getting to them.
Right. Thank you, Nicole. So my goal today in sharing this information with you is to give you a quick overview, try to make it as simple as possible. All the information I'm going to share with you today is spelled out on our website for you to go through at your own time and leisure. And also we will be available to help you individually after this call as well. So we might go through things a little quickly today, but know that we're always here to answer your questions. So as Nicole mentioned, one of the ways that we're going to be dividing our grant structure is into focus area specific grants. So the one thing to keep in mind is that for this upcoming cycle of our grant cycle of 2023, which begins tomorrow, June 1st, our program is staying essentially the same as it has. We're still doing the $1,000 mini grant structure and $5,000 community grant structure for any denomination who has been approved to the PHW Collaborative. Beginning October 1st, which is the third grant cycle of 2023, that $1,000 mini grant structure will be retired for now anyway. And we're moving to focus area specific grants for any denomination. And at this time, we will be offering focus area specific grants of up to $2,000, or community grants of up to $8,000 in the areas of tobacco, nicotine education, and overdose and substance use. And one thing to keep in mind is that we are continually looking for other funding sources, and we reserve the right to expand these offerings in the future, even potentially sooner than we're saying here, but it's all just what we have on paper now is tobacco, nicotine education, and overdose substance use. So just to, we've used the word focus areas a lot, and Nicole mentioned these briefly, but just to quickly review those again, our 7 focus areas of PHW are mental health advocacy, overdose substance use. We also use the term harm reduction a lot. Those two things are synonymous. Healthy aging, HIV advocacy, physical activity, healthy eating, and tobacco, nicotine education. To tell you more about the denomination-specific grants that we're offering, and this begins tomorrow. So any congregation who identifies as United Methodist, AMEZ, AME, and CME are eligible for mini grants of up to $3,000 and community grants of up to $10,000 in any focus area. So just quickly sum up what I just said. I wanted to make this more visual for you for the current cycle that we're about to start. The mini grants of $1,000 for any denomination are still active. And that's in any focused area. The denomination specific grants will begin this cycle. When this cycle ends in July, a couple months later, our grant cycle 3 will begin. The denomination specific grants will continue in that cycle, and that's when our focus area specific grants will become active, the 2,000 and the 8,000. So I'm sure that a lot of you on this call are wondering how this specifically affects you and your faith community. So I've created this flow chart here that If you just start up at the top left and answer the questions accordingly, it will take you to exactly what situation applies to you in these changes. This graphic is available on our website. I'm not going to be able to leave this up for probably long enough for everybody to do it here today, but you are welcome to and encouraged to visit our website, healthandwholeness.org. And if one of my colleagues could type that into the chat, that would be wonderful, healthandwholeness.org. You can find this information and go through this graphic to answer these questions for yourself. And as always, we will be here to help you with that question and more. All right.
So the main thing we want you to remember is that our goal is to maximize the impact. The whole point of shifting our grant structure, just as we did, it's been about maybe 5 years, maybe 6 years since we changed our grant structure. We believe that this new grant structure is going to allow faith communities to hone in and focus on a specific faith and health topic that is a part of their faith and health ministry in any one particular year. So maybe this year, a faith community may be thinking, hey, we have not done much work around tobacco and nicotine education. And that one's kind of real close to my heart at the moment because of the rise in nicotine and vaping products and middle schoolers and children and teenagers, and just the spike that especially happened during the pandemic and continues to happen. And faith communities may not be aware of all those changes. So we want these grants to be very, very deep, very concentrated, very focused on very particular health topics in our focus areas. And so that's one of the reasons that we are changing the grant structure to maximize impact in the long term. Our goal has always been to continue to work with faith communities. Our goal has always been to walk alongside faith communities and ultimately to help faith communities connect their theological values to health around mind, body, and spirit. Our goal has always been for faith communities to continue to be sustainable in their faith and health efforts. We celebrate all the work that we have seen happen. I love getting pictures to my emails, y'all. Like, that's one of my favorite things, I think, maybe, to get photos of the work that faith communities are doing. Another huge thing that I absolutely love is going on site visits, which I used to do a lot more before the pandemic started, and have started doing again. I've visited, I think a few of you that I can see on the screen currently, I've visited your faith communities or been able to visit on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday or Thursday or Saturday when you had a particular faith and health focused event. We love to see the work that you're doing, and we believe that we can all make a difference together. We truly do. There is one question in the chat, and I think I'm going to go ahead and address it right now. What's not changing? All right, 2 questions in the chat. So the things that are not changing, Partners in Health and Wholeness is going to continue to provide one-on-one consultations for faith communities. And I think during the pandemic, potentially we may not have continued to do as many one-on-one consultations in person, but we're going to continue to ramp that up as we continue to meet back in person with faith communities and do site visits, meet with health leads and pastors in communities across our state. So one-on-one consultations will continue to be available. And we're hoping to expand those one-on-one consultations to be able to give you faith and health assessments to help you assess the sustainability of your faith and health ministry, to look at what faith and health topics may be more relevant for you in the communities where you are. How do you gain more support in your faith community from laity and from clergy? So those one-on-one consultations will continue to happen and will continue to be a part of the heart of PHW. The collaborative process, the application process will not be changing. That will continue to be the same. You still have to submit that collaborative application to be and Stephanie's going to walk you through that collaborative process in just a second. You will continue to need to update that every 12 months. You will continue to tell us what it is that you've been able to do in the past 12 months, what you hope to accomplish in the next 12 months. All of those parts, all of those are going to remain the same. I'm going to
Great.
turn
Thanks,
it over to
Nicole.
Stephanie. She's very much into our logistics. So she's going to walk us really quickly through the collaborative process.
Yeah, so as Nicole said, while the actual outcomes of what the process of joining the collaborative will be different, the process of getting there is going to remain the same. So you'll need to fill out a collaborative pledge and a clergy commitment form. After you have been formally accepted into the PHW Collaborative, you will get an acceptance email with links on how to apply, and we'll send you the links that you're eligible to receive grants from. And then we'll review your grant. The review process can take 3 to 6 weeks usually. And then once we approve your grant, we'll let you know, and we'll get a check ready to send to you. And this process is renewable every 12 months, and that will remain the same in this new grant structure.
So to our questions and answers, and there are already some questions in the chat. There are a couple that I'm going to roll together. Venus Duran asked, what about congregations that do not identify with those you've named? And Taylor asked, she said she had they had the same question. Our organization is non-denominational. Also, will there be denominational grant opportunities for non-denominational churches? So currently at this time, grant structure not changing. Your faith community can still apply for a $1,000 mini grant here during this grant cycle, June 1st to July 31st. If you're non-denominational, the denomination specific grants for United Methodist Churches, CME, Christian Methodist Episcopal, African Methodist Episcopal, Zion African Methodist Episcopal does start during this grant cycle. That does not mean that if you're non-denominational that you cannot apply for your $1,000 mini grant during this cycle in 2023. June 1st to July 31st, your faith community non-denominational can still apply for a $1,000 mini grant. Secondly, in the third grant cycle and moving forward, will non-denominational faith communities or faith communities that do not affiliate with the denominations that we have named, yes, you're still eligible to apply for a grant. It will have to be a focus area specific grant according to the funds that we have available at the time. You are still eligible to apply for any focus area specific grant. Those are not tied to a particular denomination. They're not tied to whether you belong to a denomination or you're a non-denominational faith community. So yes, you can still apply for a grant. It will have to be a focus area specific grant. So if you're going to apply for a grant in 2023, for example, you've not applied for a grant, you're not applying until, during the third cycle of this year, and you're non-denominational, just consider that you will have to apply for a focus area specific grant. Your faith and health project will need to be focused on, for this year, for the third cycle, tobacco and nicotine education and overdose and substance use education and advocacy. Those will be the two focus area specific grants that we'll have available for the fall cycle of 2023. One thing that I will say, and I think it's because it's a little more complicated just to explain and to talk through. So our community grants are specifically geared towards collaborative effort of faith communities. Those community grants have to have at least a minimum number of faith communities participating, which is 3. For us, Partners in Health and Wholeness, we said 3 faith communities applying for a community grant together. If you are a non-denominational faith community and you are partnered with a United Methodist Church or an AME church or a CME church or an AMEZ church in your community, and you're working on a faith and health project together, you can apply together for a community grant. That community grant process, you do have to talk to us first before you submit any application for a community grant. And that has always been the case. So if you're non-denominational and you're working with other faith communities, particularly UMC, AME, AMEZ, and CME, yes, you're still eligible to apply for that community grant together. So that was one particular question. I might need some help monitoring the chat because I think I'm going to lose questions here.
I'll jump in, Nicole, and say as well that you can still do a community grant without being affiliated with one of those denominations, but it would have to be focus area specific. It would have
That is
to
also
either
another way.
be in tobacco, nicotine education, or overdose and substance use. And those community grants are for up to $8,000. And the other community grants, the denomination specific grants, as long as you have at least one of those denominations involved, are up to 10,000.
All right, so I'm trying to go in order. So does that help? Venus and Taylor, they asked the same question, and I'm sure people had the same question. So currently, yes, you can apply for a $1,000 mini grant during this cycle. If it's in the third cycle of the year, we're still working on our model of, we're going to continue to work through that. It potentially could change, but yes, still only one grant during any 12-month period. We're going to be sticking to that, at least currently for now. What about applications that are currently with us for review and approval? So as things stand right now, our process is not changing during this grant cycle. And Betsy Smith Edwards, I'll ask what particular application you were referring to. Are you talking about like the collaborative application, or are you talking about a mini grant application? I just want to make sure that I don't misunderstand somebody's question.
Right. And we can, right now, participants are not able to unmute. So I'm going
Can we give them that ability, Stephanie, please? It'll help me.
I'm going to switch that over to allow you to unmute yourselves. If you could, please wait until we call on you to do that. Thank you. So Betsy Smith, if you could unmute yourself, and Nicole will clarify that question for you.
Hi, it's Betsy speaking.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I was referring to the mental health one. I had submitted that, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. I'm looking at my date. So I was referring to the mental health one.
Oh, so applications that are currently with us for collaborative applications, not changing at all. That process not changing at all. Applications for grants will continue to be the same as they currently are. And Reverend Jessica Stokes, I think, is working on getting out our responses to the review of those particular mental health applications.
Yeah, and the BIPOC grant that Betsy's referring to is actually separate from all of this, and that grant is actually closed now. So none of this applies to the BIPOC grant. And if you haven't heard, and Jessica can jump in if she'd like to add anything to this, but if you haven't heard about your BIPOC grant yet, you will be soon. And to reiterate, that grant was a separate thing. It was a one-time thing, and it's not affected by any of these changes. Does that answer your question, Betsy?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm continuing to try to go in order. Audrey said in the past, I'd worked in partnership on some activities with a church of a different denomination. Going forward, will we be able to collaborate? Free Will Baptist and African Methodist Episcopal. Your faith and health ministry is still your own. You will absolutely, please collaborate away, change the world, make a difference. Don't change your ministry to fit our structure. Grant funding will always change. It will always change no matter what we try to do. Don't change your ministry to fit our structure. And the ways that we can support you, the one-on-one consultations, the webinars, the faith and health resources, we will come out to your faith community. We will help you find resources. The main part that's changing is the grant funding and how we distribute them. So yes, Audrey, please collaborate away. And if there is an African Methodist Episcopal faith community that is a part of your collaboration, you're eligible to apply together for a community grant for the denomination specific grants. So as I may have misworded myself.
But wouldn't I need another, you said, I think it was up to 3 congregations
A minimum
So-
of 3 faith communities working together. Yes.
to apply for the funding up to 8,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So far, it's
that's
just been the
actually-
2 of us.
Okay. It's actually a little more nuanced than that with the community
Okay.
grants.
Yeah.
And so let's say for now, that if you are interested, if you do have a cohort of at least 3 faith communities, reach out to me and we'll talk
We'll
about
walk you
exactly what
through.
you're eligible for. Does that sound good?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, Audrey. Derek Montgomery asked, how many grants can an organization be awarded during a fiscal year? Is a fiscal year identified January to December? So yes, only one grant during any 12 months, and during any 12 months. So how Partners in Health and Wholeness has worked in the past and will continue to work is that our collaborative application process is rolling throughout the year. So for example, you apply to be to renew your collaborative pledge in March of 2023, and you do not apply for a mini grant during our June cycle, you apply in October. You're eligible to apply in October. If you applied in June, you're not eligible to apply again for 12 months. So one grant during any 12 months for your faith community, depending on when you've received a mini grant and what particular day, month, time. We usually go by the month, to be honest. Can we apply in the second cycle and also apply in the third cycle? All right, so I think that goes back to the question that I just answered as well. One grant. So be real strategic. If you're thinking it's $1,000 during this second cycle, but we want to apply for a focus area specific grant in the fall, and that is going to be a much deeper project with a different amount, that you think a larger amount that would be more impactful for whatever faith and health project, and be really strategic about thinking about which mini grant you want to apply for during which cycle. So Venus, this is Venus's question in particular. So if you are thinking we're going to be doing a tobacco and nicotine education focused project in the fall, then I would wait until the fall. That's what I would do if I were your faith community, or if you were doing an overdose and substance use education, faith and health project. But if you're just looking for $1,000 to be able to do like that follows a more seed capacity building, any focus area, then apply for the $1,000. Just be real strategic in thinking about it, what it is that you want to accomplish. Let's see here. Are we required to yearly renew the collaborative agreement? Yes, that continues to be the same. The collaborative pledge has to be renewed every 12 months. How do you request and arrange a consult? Stephanie is leading the way and helping us do better. So you can always email us, you can always call us, and we're going to be adding consultation times to a calendar, and you will be able to request a specific time for a consultation. Stephanie, can you tell us more about?
Yeah. So
that?
when
Thank you.
we send the summary email for today's event, it's going to include the recording for today. It's going to include the slideshow and all the links that you need. And one of the things that will be included in that email is a link to something called Calendly, and you will be able to choose an available time slot with the PHW staff member. Preferably it would be for the person who is the director for your specific area. I'll also have some times available. So you will be able to schedule a time right from that email. And if those times don't work for whatever reason, you can always just reach out to us as well. We're always available via email to answer questions. But just be on the lookout for that email with the Calendly links, and you'll be able to schedule your consult that way.
Yeah. And if you're one of those people who does currently have our, our email and cell phone numbers, which is usually easy to find, you can still contact us that way. Next question, will the One Church, 10 people, 100 miles, 1,000-mile grant be available? So currently that grant is not available for 2023, and it's one of my particular favorites. I've worked with some of you on that particular grant. We're hoping that grant will return for 2024. Let's see. Are there any questions that I'm missing? Does anybody else have any questions? You can drop them in the chat, or you can raise your hand on the Zoom thingy. And hopefully I'll see it. There's a lot of people on here. So if I miss you, just be like, hey, I got a question.
Abundant Life Miracle Center said, when will the handouts be available? We will get this email out to you by the end of the week at the latest. I'm hoping by tomorrow, but it will be very soon.
Yes. Yes.
And y'all are welcome to go ahead and unmute and ask questions or type them. So we'll leave that open for a couple seconds. And if we don't have any more questions, we're going to move on and wrap things up.
Good morning. This is Sheila Perry. You
Good
may have
morning.
answered. You may have answered this, but I need to ask it again.
Okay, no problems.
Is the BIPOC grant cycle ended?
So the BIPOC, the mental health grant, was a specific grant, and that cycle is closed. That BIPOC mental health grant, it ran for 12 months and it is currently closed. Jessica, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it is indeed closed. It ended Friday, May 5th, and we are wrapping up the final processes of the grant. And so if you have not heard back from us, you are not alone. We are finalizing things, and you will hear back from us if you applied by the deadline. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love seeing all your faces. It makes me real happy.
All right, last call for questions.
All right.
Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move on. And remember, if anything comes up after today that you forgot, just reach out anytime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pass
Yes,
it to yeah, go ahead, Carolee.
Hi, I'm Carolee. I'm just joined PHW as the West Regional Associate Director, and it's nice to see all your faces, and I look forward to getting to connect and know you guys and work together. So as we wrap up our time together this morning, I want to draw your attention to a couple of upcoming events we have on the calendar. This Thursday, which is tomorrow, June 1st, we have a webinar on mental health in the church, and it will be a great conversation on trauma-informed practices within the church. So we hope that you will join us. And then on June 28th, we will be having a webinar about with Alter about developing dementia-friendly African-American communities of faith. So those will two great events coming up to put on your calendar.
Is available on our website.
Be on the lookout for a follow-up email. As we sort of talked about today, the email will contain information about signing up for a one-on-one consult, the event recording, and links to information shared today. So watch your inboxes for that later this week. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was great to be together, and we are very excited to continue working alongside of you on this important work of cultivating health and wholeness in our communities and creating healthy mind, body, and spirits. So with that being said, for the benediction and to close our time together, we are going to take 3 deep breaths I will count the first one, and then you will take 2 more, and then we will close when I say go in peace. So with the awareness of our space and the spirit, the breath of life that sustains us in all that we do, let us breathe together. Go in peace.
Amen.
Amen.